Hello, Deborah Sarson. Hi, Peter. Let me put you on speakerphone. You sound very quiet. You sound very distant. No, no better.
Hang on.
That's better. There you are. Oh, no, you've gone away again. You came back and then you disappeared.
Hang on one second. Keep there, all right?
Yeah, so...
I was just going to see if I'm just trying to find the right way round, all right?
Okay.
Just hang on one moment.
Well, that's much better than it was.
Right, phone right way round. Try it. How's that?
That's much better.
That's right. I had the phone upside down.
Okay. Well, as long as it's not inside out.
Oh, that is true. But anyway, I just said, you know, it takes one to know. What a prat, you know.
Well,
anyway,
there's probably no indication of which is the right way up. So
that is true. That's been the trouble always, isn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway, now you sound a lot better now. Anyway, I'm talking into the speaker, not into the headphone.
Yeah, no, that's much better.
Yeah.
Good.
Anyway, but okay then, I mean, obviously,
Okay.
I think that obviously you've still got a load of people to come in, I would think, at the moment.
Yeah, I've got a waiting room full of people, so I'm just about to let them in. So just so you know. And I'm currently on. Oh no, I'm not muted at the moment. Oh, okay. I'm just going to let everybody. I've got somebody just banging on my door.
Somebody banging on your door?
Yeah, so I'm going to have to go and get the door. Hang on.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
I'm in.
Hello.
Anybody on the phone?
Now we've got some people still coming in. Yeah, Andrew's. I've got Peter Holbert on the phone, and Andrew's not visible.
Good evening, Chair.
Hello. So I was just having difficulty on my computer. Got it to wire. Okay, is everyone here?
No.
Hello.
Andy's just sent his apologies through for tonight, and Tom's given his apologies for tonight. So
I bet Julie.
I haven't heard. Julie's not a member of the committee now.
Ah, right.
Oh,
okay.
hang on. Hang on. I need to. Yeah, no, Julie's no longer a member of the committee. So
Yasmin's apologies too.
Yeah, she sent an email.
Yeah, I think we're jumping to item 2 now, aren't we?
yeah, no, we're just making sure that everybody's here.
Yeah, I know.
It's Warwick here. Have you got me down as being there?
Well, yes, you are a member of the committee, but hello, Warwick.
Hello.
Hello. So I think, yes, well, I think we're all here.
Looking at the committee list is a bit...
Is Councillor Kirby here?
He's given
No, he's given his apologies as
Oh,
well.
has he? Right, okay. the list's a bit funny. It's got,
Yeah, it's badly formatted, isn't it?
yeah. Probably me, sorry.
Is Debbie joining us?
No, she's indicated that she's won't. She's got another commitment for this meeting.
Righto. I shall talk now.
So I think we can start, Chair, when
Yeah.
you're ready.
Okay. I'd like to announce that the proceedings are being recorded and advise all participants that they will be muted by the host of the meeting, who will unmute the individual the chair has invited to speak. Okay. Am I meant to ask if anyone else is recording the meeting? I'll take those no. Okay. Item 2, apologies. I think there we've heard the Gerald.
All right, my darling. God bless.
Yeah. So Councillor Kirby, Councillor Fitzgerald, and Councillor Drummond have given their apologies.
Okay. Register of interest. I'd like to remind everyone to keep up to date their declaration of members' interest and consider any requests for members' dispensation. Are there any?
None that I know of.
Okay. So minutes of previous meeting. Should we receive and confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of May? Go through for accuracy first. Page 1.
Yes, I've got something to say on that.
Yes, Councillor Hood.
It's not accurate under elected chairman because, as I understood it, Councillor O'Neill nominated you and everybody voted for you. I wasn't proposed as chair. I believe that unexpectedly, Councillor Hulbert proposed me as vice chair. I wasn't proposed as chair because I was voting for you.
I thought Councillor Hulbert proposed you as chair, but I don't think he.
I agree with that.
So do I.
Just because I suddenly thought, oh, maybe I should take my name out of the running, because I hadn't realised that that was going to be proposed.
I thought I proposed her as vice chairman, but this is what I thought.
No, it's for chair.
Oh, okay. So I think we misunderstood at the time. I think because I definitely misunderstood what Councillor Hulbert was proposing at that point. Because we hadn't voted for the chair at that point.
No, we didn't vote until all the nominations were in, and Councillor Hood did nominate Councillor Hood.
Yes.
Well,
I believe the records are an accurate way of how that conversation went.
So I don't, because I was very clear that I was voting for Councillor Caesar as chair, and I was surprised, flattered, Councillor Hulbert, surprised when I thought he suggested me for deputy chair, but I didn't want to do it anyway. So, but maybe what we could do is subject to somebody just checking. I mean, that's the great thing about these recordings. Somebody can check.
Okay.
If that's all right. I mean, I had no recollection of being proposed as chair at all.
I thought I proposed as vice chairman, but
okay, maybe I think I think at the point we misunderstood as a group. So apologies for the misunderstanding there. But how does this work? If we all misunderstood at the time, but so the minutes kind of reflect
just check the recording.
Okay, check the recording.
We can check the recording, but it does mean that it sort of delays the signing of the minutes or the approval of the minutes. A simpler option would be perhaps just to remove the reference to Councillor Hood Councillor Hulbert nominating Councillor Hood altogether, and then it just removes that confusion altogether.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. It doesn't really matter, but I just wanted it to be clear that I had understood that we had all unanimously voted for Councillor Caesar, and that
we did unanimously vote for Councillor Caesar after you declined the nomination.
I thought Councillor Hulbert abstained.
Yes, so do I. It's my recollection.
Well,
Not that matters.
Councillor Caesar was voted in as chair. I wonder, just for simplicity, and so we can move on.
Okay, sorry. Yes.
How about we suggest that any reference to Councillor Holbert nominating Councillor Hood be removed from that minute?
That's fine with me.
And then we can just move on.
Okay. Do we have to have a proposal and seconder for that, or
we do?
Propose it if you like.
Okay, I'll second that. And all in favour?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, page 2. Page 3. And page 4. Okay, everyone happy with those? Okay, go through for matters arising. Okay, yes. Shall I propose we accept the minutes as they are?
I'll second.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favour?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, matters arising.
Would you like to go through the pages, Chair? This might be
Sorry, reading silently. Page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4. Page 3, just to check, we did get the extensions of time for considering the items that we were unable to decide on last time.
one of them I had a response to say that there had been new information, and so the extension had been agreed anyway. I'm not sure if that item is on this agenda. And the other one I didn't ever receive a response to. I'd have to double check and see which ones I...
Okay, so with the Mandeston Road one and the I want to say Craven Place, but it's the other side of that, isn't it? But it's an item for tonight. Okay. Let's go back to public participation. I'd like to invite all members of the public to put questions for statements of no more than 3 minutes duration. Resolutions can only be made on items that are on the agenda, but councillors are very happy for matters relating to the town to be brought to their attention. Do we have anyone who'd like to speak?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, Douglas Hall.
Thanks. I just wanted to talk on a couple of items, or one item on your agenda and one that doesn't appear to be on the agenda. First, I noticed last week that the McDonald's got approved, and I watched with interest the district council meeting on this, which was interesting. And it does seem that Newmarket's possibly getting a little bit of a reputation for turning stuff down and not very good at saying, it's very good at saying what it doesn't want, but not very good at saying what it does want. And it seems that rather than just saying no to all these applications, maybe a slightly more constructive engagement could be made. You know, things like this are almost certainly going to go through. You could have taken advantage, you know, by dealing with the district and the various other departments there on, you know, perhaps I think some bus shelters were needed in various places, and maybe that could have sort of been done as a requirement of that application, or other things, or more provision with litter picking. But by simply saying no to applications like this, you lose out on that opportunity to do that. So I just wanted to mention that. And also, I noticed there was an objection made under NKT 32 of the neighbourhood plan, which does seem a little bit nebulous, although I can understand why the objections are on that. But I was also looking at the neighbourhood plan, and you've got, I guess, if you're trying to make things representations to the district. For example, I saw there's a community action F9 that says gateways to the town. Newmarket Town Council will ensure that the signs at the gateways to the town are kept clean. So the Newmarket welcome to Newmarket signs coming in on that road is green and covered with algae and looks quite partially covered by trees, and it doesn't look particularly good. You've also got all the lampposts down Fordham Road that look rusty or have paint flaking off. There's bushes and trees overgrowing signs. So it's just if you're trying to sort of object to an application on various grounds, that it's probably good to have understand some of those other things in the plan. And the other point I wanted to make was on the skate park. I noticed the planning, I mean, that's all been approved now, but the planning application said that the old skate park would be operational and would be dismantled up to 6 months after the new one was up and running. But I saw a post on Facebook from the district council this week saying that the old skate park would be closed shortly for the duration of the building works, which seems a bit, given that most people have been sort of stuck at home, and now you've now got the opportunity to go out, that young people have now got don't have the skate park to use at all until the new one is built. That was all I had to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak, or shall we reply to that first?
Chair?
Yes, Councillor Jeffries.
I thought there was a principle about referring to the neighbourhood plan Newmarket 32, because I wasn't certain, or I didn't feel that the district council was taking note of what is a planning document. Now, if they said, yes, we've looked at Newmarket 32 and we don't think it applies in this case, then in a way I was satisfied, because it's saying to them, you've got to take into account the Newmarket neighbourhood plan. You cannot just go ahead with your development applications without taking that into consideration. It was the first opportunity to raise that point. I can talk about the sign. Clearly, that is a community action, and I hope in the near future we will have a Newmarket Neighbourhood Plan Committee, and that will perhaps be one of our highest priorities, because it's one of the simplest ones we could possibly do if we can find someone to clean it. So I gather there are issues related to that.
Yeah, and it would help if we had a community services committee meeting to get that cleaned, really. I do agree that it was nice to see that they actually referred to the neighbourhood plan during that planning meeting. But yeah, I do feel it should have more specifics in it as to what we mean by making the gateways more attractive, and yeah, it would help to have some sort of definite metrics as to what would fit with our grand scheme of things. So I think that's something for the neighbourhood plan committee to work through.
Chair.
Councillor Hood.
Yeah. So I don't know whether we should be voting to bring this forward and discussing McDonald's and dealing with it now, in which case I've got quite a lot to say, and I'm happy to do it now if you want to bring it forward, or whether you want to leave it till item 15.
Should we bring it forward? Do we have a seconder to bring it forward? Oh, second it. Okay. All in favour to bring it forward?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm happy to respond to Douglas's comments. Although I have to say I don't agree with the slightly sweeping comment of voting to turn everything down. For those who don't know, the neighbourhood plan is a document that is now part of the planning law, as it were, and it was worked on for 5 years by our neighbourhood plan group, which included the mayor, me, various other people. And I actually wasn't entirely clear that the way the objection was framed was actually accurate, because my recollection was that we were objecting to it having breached the neighbourhood plan and, in particular, policy 32. If you look at, and so we were also objecting on the highways matters. And if you look at the documentation from the planning officer, and remember that I actually went along to the delegation panel in order to raise the issues, and because it was just going to be waved through by the delegation panel. So at least we had an opportunity for it to be heard by the committee. And it was a very unsatisfactory experience because it was the normal approach that we used to see a lot under Forest Heath, which was nobody seemed to be interested in the wider issues of the neighbourhood plan, just in the statement that McDonald's will provide up to 75 jobs, which I suspect is not verifiable. And at paragraph 46, our town council objection, which was slightly reduced in scale, but said that a material conflict with policy 32 is not judged to arise and is not considered to be something which would withstand scrutiny at appeal. And I have to say, I completely disagree with that sweeping statement. I think there's no basis for it whatsoever. I had actually communicated with West Suffolk about having a meeting to find out when actually our neighbourhood plan is going to be taken seriously. I didn't feel it was taken seriously. I felt that the approach taken by West Suffolk was, the planning committee anyway, was this is a bleak industrial area, so it's fine to have a McDonald's there on our only official children's playing fields in Newmarket. And remember, everybody, there's an identified lack of open space. There wasn't, until Newmarket Town Council objected to this, any kind of policy for dealing with the litter, which fortunately, thanks to the officer at West Suffolk, there will now be. There was no section 106 except £15,000 for painting the lines of the road. There was a statement by Suffolk Highways, which several of us had a meeting, a Zoom meeting with, in which they said, if I can find it, I don't know if I can find it in all these notes, but basically it said that because there wouldn't be any signs on the A14, nobody would come off the A14 to the McDonald's, which I have to say I think is completely not something that is can possibly be true, because nobody looks at signs anymore. They use sat-nav and Waze and all of that. So we all know that the traffic in that area is at times impassable. It was disappointing that Suffolk County Council, Suffolk Highways had an objection, as we know that there was severe, there would be a severe traffic impact, and that was removed. I didn't feel that that was appropriate. Also there is the issue that, as it turned out, that the public health people at Suffolk hadn't responded at all to the consultation for reasons that I don't think even they've spotted. But in places like London, putting a fast food outlet like McDonald's on children's playing fields is something that I gather has either been discouraged or stopped altogether. So the bottom line is that a lot of people have worked very hard indeed for the neighbourhood plan to be passed. It was passed overwhelmingly, and in my view certainly, and I think in the mayor's view and other people on the neighbourhood plan group, the West Suffolk planning officer didn't actually apply the plan as we would have expected. So I think there are quite a lot of important issues that need to be followed up here. As yet, the decision isn't on the website, but when it is, I shall certainly be taking a look at it and we can have a look at it perhaps in our neighbourhood plan, whatever that group is going to be. But I think going forward, we all know this is this is an official planning document, and there's no point in everybody having put so much effort into it and the referendum having passed if we don't make sure it's applied. And in my view, certainly, just stating that there isn't a conflict with it is not sufficient. There needs to be some evidence. Lastly, I just want to let everybody know that on the this hearing, this development control hearing was on Wednesday, and on Wednesday afternoon I was copied into an email which was also sent to Councillor Anderson and bizarrely Councillor Miller, who, as we know, has moved on, saying that these McDonald's people have now applied for one of those very tall polls, yes, to advertise McDonald's, which again, I personally think, as somebody who has been involved with the neighbourhood plan for 5 years, and I don't want to speak for the mayor, but I'm sure he will speak for himself on this, but it seems inappropriate at best, and certainly not adding to what we consider to be, you know, appropriate entrances to the town. So in my view, and you know, I had slightly hoped for better. It was very unsatisfactory.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that the neighbourhood plan needs to be taken seriously. It needs to have some weight to it, and I think we need to work on defining where we can take it to help with planning decisions in future, so that the planning staff at West Suffolk know why we're objecting to certain things, and have some grounds for those decisions. Anyone like to speak on it?
So perhaps we could have the decision notice come back to the next DMP meeting, so we could have a look at it.
Add that as an item for the next agenda.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, item 6, planning applications, West Suffolk list 21. Start with DC 200769 TPO. This is a Paget Place. They want to fell a lime and reduce a sycamore by 2 meters all around. The lime tree is next to a wall and creating structural damage. The wall needs to be maintained, and they offering to replant in a different location. Councillor O'Neill?
Yeah, I had a look at this and read quite a long document about this, and there's not, I don't think there's evidence in there that the wall is being damaged by the roots, and they do actually put in some suggestions of what you could do instead of, there's something about a bridging lintel.
The lintel, yeah.
Yeah, and also what we don't know is how old the wall is.
Yes,
because
yeah,
if the wall was very old, it might just be falling down anyway.
Yeah, I mean the survey results of the angle of the wall, the epicenter sort of being the tree, does make sense. I mean, trees are fundamentally damaging to all structures, but that didn't occur to be necessarily a valid reason for felling what was a mature lime tree when they have the lintel option.
Yeah, and I believe that to be the case, and the wall may need replacing anyway because of age, and it might be something more suitable. Yeah, you can't replace it. Well, you can replace a tree, but not a fully grown one.
I was kind of thinking this might be best left to the leaving the decision to the tree officer and supporting their views on it.
Let him have a look.
Yes, because you know, this is one of those things where the immunity of the tree needs to be determined as to whether or not it is a good enough specimen for the wall damage to not be considered valid comparatively. And if they think the lintel is the option, then that would save the tree. So I think, can I propose that we...
Can I speak? Sorry.
Yes, Councillor Hood.
Sorry. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book to say that trees are damaging walls and the like, and this development is not an old development, and I would have thought that we should also ask for confirmation, which can easily be done, of pictures taken of the wall damage.
They do, as part of, on the planning portal, there are substantial, I mean, they've had structural surveys done. They do have the measured angles of wall movement. They have specialist people looking at an arboriculturists who have looked at it. So they unfortunately do have all the documentation in place, but what they haven't considered is the fact that once you've felled the tree, the ground will drop as the roots disintegrate. So the wall is liable to be completely destroyed at that point, because it will go from having a slight lean to, yeah, the ground giving way underneath it, assuming that the tree was moderately mature at the point at which they built the wall. So they will have to do building work on the wall anyway. But yeah, I would like to support the tree officer in this matter.
Yeah, tree officer, go around, let him have a look.
Yes.
I wonder whether it's appropriate just to object to the felling of the tree unless there's no other option.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I support that.
Okay.
Object to the felling of the tree.
Okay. Councillor Hood, do you want to propose that, and Holbert second it? And okay, all in favour?
Chair, shall I put the normal word in that we object to the felling of healthy trees and we refer it to the tree officer for consideration and approval?
Yes.
That's it. That's the best way.
And the reduction of the sycamore?
I'm less concerned about that, because sycamore, 2 metres of reduction isn't really going to impact it.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the proposal, is that agreed?
Yes. Tree management on the sycamore.
Yes, I think everybody's voting in favour. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, DC 200774 HH, this is Freshfield, single story rear extension. The neighbour's property already is extended 2 floors back to a similar point.
Sorry, could I just declare potentially an interest, because our company has a house in Freshfields. I can't remember the number, so I won't take part in this. Okay.
Okay.
I'm declaring, I don't know, non-pecuniary.
Non-pecuniary.
So
Okay.
I won't take part in, just in case. I can't remember the number, but.
You haven't had any objections at all, have we?
No, there's no negative comments from neighbours. Being a rear extension, this is in keeping with the rest of the houses. It's not extreme in size. It's not going to have any problems with light for the neighbours. So yeah, support. Pete Albert, do you want to support it, and then I'll second that? All in favour?
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Next one is list 22, DC 200794 full, which is a proposed horse walker for the Shoalfleet stables on Bury Road. So the new horse walker will be located next to what I believe is another horse walker on a area that's currently laid to grass. doesn't seem to be any trees or hedges affected. Would anyone like to speak for or against this?
No, I'm going to declare a non-pecuniary interest because I vaguely know the applicant. But having said that, it seems to be a perfectly normal horse walker. These people have bought the property and they seem to be doing a lot of work. I know because I drive past it sometimes, but unless there's any reason to object, I would have thought we should.
There's no objections at all, is there?
No, the only comment is from the Jockey Club who support the application.
Yeah. No, it's to say no. If someone doing it, let's go for it, accept it.
So you're proposing to recommend
Yes,
approval?
I'm proposing to accept. Any seconds?
Councillor Caesar?
When was that?
73 or 74.
It's under the Education Act. Yeah, it's hutting operation for the raising of the school leaving age.
I propose, I don't know what we've got to do.
Very good general knowledge,
I think
Councillor Jeffries.
that horrible building will be excellent. And I believe that they have got space in Foley House, which is a good use of Foley House. So.
Yes, I was going to say, yeah, and it seems to be they're putting disabled parking there, and it should look a lot nicer, aesthetically pleasing.
We could support this.
I'll second that. All in favour?
Can I just ask? I don't know. This doesn't often happen, but I'm saying I'm a county councillor. Does that mean I shouldn't vote and shouldn't take part in this? Deborah, can you just advise?
It's probably preferable that you abstain from.
Okay, that's fine.
I say go for it with Foley House.
Okay, all in favour?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay, item 10, planning decisions and plans withdrawn. We've got decisions. Some of the decisions we made, we had our opinions on so long ago that I'd forgotten we had actually discussed these. But I did look them up, and there isn't anything controversial there compared to our views. So that's nice. Okay. Item 11, delegation panel decisions. I can't remember why this is on the agenda.
It's a standing, these things are standing items.
Oh yes, to discuss anything that's going to delegation that we want.
Which there isn't, yeah.
Okay, yes. Item 12, licensing. Do you have any licensing applications?
No.
Item 13, the neighbourhood plan, community actions and policy. Councillor Jeffries, do you want to start us on this?
Only to say that the next item will be relevant, i.e. tree policy, because I would, Councillor O'Neill and I would like you to refer to the neighbourhood plan. I'm not quite certain why what this point of this is on the agenda. I think there is a gathering opinion, a consensus towards having a neighbourhood plan committee, which would look at the community actions, first of all, which is the town council responsibility, but also look at the policies in relation to any forthcoming development applications, planning applications, because that's where we need to come in, isn't it? If we see a planning application, we need to refer to our neighbourhood plan and say, does this fit in with the policies in the neighbourhood plan? I don't know if that's what we were, I can't remember why we put this on the agenda, to be honest.
Yeah, I think essentially we do need a list of action points for this committee to take forward. Obviously the tree policy is one, but it would be where the neighbourhood plan says things like improving the gateways to the town. We do kind of need a discussion as to what we mean by that, and some sort of metrics to kind of work to make sure that we are improving planning in line with the neighbourhood plan.
Chair.
Councillor Hood?
Yeah. Okay. So the reason, I think actually the reason it's on here is that I wanted to make sure that we started thinking about what we were going to do, particularly in light of the McDonald's situation that was so unsatisfactory in the mayor and my view, if not in everybody else's. And now that, you know, lockdown is being eased and all of that stuff, we need to at least think about whether we are having a, you know, and I know this will go to the next full council meeting, whether or not we are having a separate neighbourhood plan group to look at these actions and policies. The one thing, in my view, we don't want is, having got this document that's, you know, taken years to come to fruition and is a very good document, is not to be proactive about moving the things in it forward. You know, the McDonald's, in my view, is just a classic example of planning officers doing what they perceive to be fine, but actually not taking into account things that the neighbourhood plan has thought about a lot. So if we put it on the full council meeting and people decide if we want to have a special group, if we do have a special group, then we can go through these community actions and the policies. We can probably ask for a meeting with the people in charge of planning at West Suffolk, so we start to communicate about what's in the plan, because I don't think they really have taken it seriously up till now. So it's just, it being on the agenda today is a way of moving things forward, I think. Mayor, do you think that's right?
That's fine. Yes. Yes. What we're hoping to do is, we're hoping in the next few weeks, indeed probably in the next meeting, to consider how we move out of the lockdown period and how we start to reintroduce the normal committee meeting structure. And at that point, make a decision about whether we have a separate neighbourhood plan committee, which I've now come to the view that that would be a useful way forward.
Yeah, and I agree. It certainly isn't a non-useful way forward, because if we don't do something, you know, it's already been, what, 4 or 5 months, and it would be quite good to get this on everybody's agenda.
Okay, can I propose that we keep the neighbourhood plan committee actions as an agenda item on this committee, just so that the committee that's discussing it can bring items to this committee for whether it's how we approach planning decisions, or proactively try and engage with developers, and have some means of moving this forward. And at least if it's on the agenda, it will be a constant reminder to us that we've got to bear it in mind, if nothing else.
Chair, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, Councillor Jeffries.
I'm not against that idea of keeping it on the agenda, but it would make sense to put it above the planning applications part of the agenda.
Yes.
So that we could reflect on the neighbourhood plan in the light of the planning applications that we're following. In other words, hopefully we'll keep an eye, we'd look at planning applications, we'd look at the neighbourhood plan, say, well, the neighbourhood plan says this about that application.
Yeah, it would be useful to have, like, what I was hoping we would get from us, and first thing from the committee would be a list of check boxes for developments to see whether they meet the neighbourhood plan criteria, like we have a list of things that we can object to when it comes to planning applications. We have a list of, we can object to traffic, we can object to light and noise and things. If we had a checklist like that, I think it would be very helpful from the perspective of, you know, or even kind of pros and cons as to positive things that we should be looking for in developments.
Yeah, well, yes, that is the potential. The many of the policies are not quite as relevant as Newmarket policy number 32 was to that particular application. Many of them are looking at where there are redevelopments of sites and the way we would like to see redevelopment of sites going. And there I can talk about, for instance, the St Mary's Square area and the Guineas area, which are one of the major policies, in my view. So it's clearly any policy that existed within the current local plan policies, we weren't able to replicate. There was no point in us putting them in the document. West Suffolk came back to us and said, you can't put that in, we've already got it. So these are additional and very specific to sites within Newmarket, mostly. So yes, we can do that, but it won't apply to every application. For instance, extensions, household extensions, are unlikely to be affected by the neighbourhood.
Yeah, that's very true. And when it comes to the McDonald's, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say that I had asked to have all of the specific policies from the neighbourhood plan document extracted into one single document, so it's easier to sort of refer to them during meetings. And it was agreed that we would post those out to council so they had a hard copy of it, so it's easier to refer to while we're in meetings as well. Okay.
I would also like an electronic copy of that as well, just so I can.
I'm happy to send an electronic version to all councillors on the committee.
That'd be helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Because I was going to say, in cases like the McDonald's where we've kind of half lost the battle already, when it comes to making it attractive, there are things we could do from a perspective of ongoing kind of changes, such as having screening that area with some trees along the roadway there and round towards the playing field, so that it's not so obvious from a distance for when people are playing in the field that they don't have a big old McDonald's sign staring at them. So yeah, we can look at other ways of making the impact less. Well, this is difficult because there is nothing in itself wrong with McDonald's. You know, they're a strong brand. They do create a lot of employment. It is just that whole being next to a playing field thing that we're trying to minimise. So yeah, there are other methods of just saying, okay, if we're going to have McDonald's there, we can do something about it, and it can be in line with the neighbourhood plan.
Less obtrusive, I think, is the word you're looking for.
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
I mean, it does seem extraordinary when everyone's gone to such trouble to, you know, with the skate park and everything and all of that, to stick a McDonald's adjoining there. I can't understand why anybody would do that, but anyway, you know, it's all a learning experience.
This poll business will come back before us, I assume, won't it?
Yeah, I think the totem pole is another planning application, so that will be discussed on its own merit, luckily. Okay, should move on. Item 14, tree policy.
Shall I go, Councillor O'Neill?
Yes.
Well, Councillor O'Neill did talk about the tree policy, and we apologise for not having looked at it whilst the coronavirus crisis has happened. But then we reflected on the fact that actually a tree policy has been written, and it's pages 47 and 48 of the neighbourhood plan. So you've got a considerable amount of words building up to a very long policy number Newmarket 14 with a community actions 3.3. Now, the only thing I would say that I would add to that in a tree policy would possibly be to liaise with local landowners and consider sites suitable for creating woodlands, which is something I'm just particularly keen on, but I also like the idea of building up more woodlands within the Newmarket area. I'm not certain that everyone has their neighbourhood plan handy, so it may be you want to.
You should do.
Refer it to the next meeting so that people got a chance to look at pages 47 and 48, which is the basis of our tree policy.
Okay, that's everyone's homework then for the next meeting. Councillor O'Neill, have you got anything to add to that? Or?
Well, yeah, I've looked at the tree policy, and it's quite good if you read that. And I just took it from the website, and it says it's a tree policy. But the only things I maybe thought we could add, I like the idea of creating woodland, but also I wondered if there was the option of us increasing the conservation area or widening that. And also, I thought about TPOs, if we're more proactive in getting TPOs onto trees. It might be something we could do, we could look at. And another thing I thought, maybe if part of a planning application we ask for a replacement tree to be planted, that if a replacement tree isn't planted within a time frame, that application is contrary to planning, to their planning approval. So we'd ask for that to be enforced.
I think we had the problem with the requesting replacement trees was that it wasn't supported by standard government practices. We couldn't enforce that from the legal perspective, but that doesn't necessarily mean we can't strongly encourage it.
Absolutely.
And also I think the ideas kind of work together. I mean, a lot of people can't replace the trees if they're felling a tree because of it's too close to a house and they don't have enough space to put a tree up, plant a tree that's further away. But then if we had a community woodland somewhere, maybe they could donate a tree or plant a tree in the woodland and to make up for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it a bit more community action, doesn't it?
Just to say, policy 14A part 2 does say provide appropriate replacement planting where felling is proved necessary. So it is there. It's in that policy.
Okay.
That's good.
Right, so we've got a few things to work on there. I definitely think we should encourage TPOs. I have been wondering that for a while, how we could go about that, because it's extremely time consuming to go and investigate each tree, find its location, species, write up the documentation for a TPO, given the number of trees that we have. But it would help because obviously we had the problem last year of trees being felled that weren't in the conservation area and didn't have TPOs, but were being felled in large numbers. So, even if we just pick trees and tree belts so that we can get notification of the whole tree belt being felled, that would probably help.
We did have this discussion previously, and I reminded councillors we'd had a couple of people had expressed an interest in being tree champions. Champions, that's the word.
Yeah.
And there's I emailed them, the two people who contacted. One of them did come back and say that they'd be interested, subject to more information. And we had previously talked about setting up a working group specifically to look at trees and perhaps to work with the tree champions. I don't know if that's whether somebody wants to contact the tree champion just to sort of talk about where our thoughts are at the moment. Just let me know.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something we could take forward. It's just occurred to me, if we had a tree champion, I mean, part of that role was going to be about education, visiting. From what I read about it, it was meant to be visiting schools, talking about trees and the environment and such. And it would be, if they could also do the paperwork for creating TPOs, they could do that as part of their educational work, I guess, if they get kids involved in picking trees, and so.
Would that then be something more appropriate to get Will engaged in then?
Yeah, that's an option, isn't it?
Schools used to go on nature rambles. Do they still do that? At least in my days, they did.
Probably. They'll probably do it socially distanced right now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess we could contact the scout groups and the like, and I wonder if there's any organisations that are already doing this. You know, it could be that there are various environmental groups that are happy to help with TPO work. Should we bring this back to the next meeting as another agenda and item, and have a think about it in the meantime?
There's the Woodland Trust, there's the Tree Council.
Oh, Woodland Trust, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Was it called Wild About Newmarket that used to do stuff like that? Can't remember. I could probably find out, because I used to do cubs and we dealt with them. I could probably try and find out.
I think Councillor Yarrow might have some information about Wild About Newmarket.
Okay.
The Tree Council sort of works with tree wardens and things.
Okay. So we've got some options for contacting people. Excellent. Well, we can have a tree working group. That's probably let's do the neighbourhood plan stuff first, and then come back to the.
Yeah, could I say, I would have thought that actually, if we're having this neighbourhood plan group, probably the tree stuff could go in there, and we probably don't need a completely separate thing. Anyway, you know, happy to. I'm just making that.
As it is, yeah, lots of action points to do with that. Okay. We're not going to solve this problem today, so let's move on. Item 15 we've already discussed. Item 16, correspondence.
There's none.
Okay. What we seem to have skipped over is the item we deferred from the last meeting that I'm assuming we should have discussed under item 7. The DC 200729 fill, the commercial units.
Yeah, unfortunately, they slipped through the net, so they're not on this agenda. And I requested the extension, but there was no response from the planning officer.
Okay.
So
do we know who the planning officer was?
It was Ed Fosker. I mean, I actually phoned up to make sure, phoned the main office to make sure I had the correct email address, but I didn't ever get a response.
Okay. Did anyone? Obviously, I went to the site. Did anyone else go to the site and want to make any comments? I'm saying this because having been and looked at it, I've got no objections at all to this. These plans. We were concerned in the last meeting that they were large units when they're actually half the size of the Unisurge building behind them, which is a ridge height of 15 metres, and these are less than 7. So they aren't going to be out of place at all. It is an area that desperately needs reinvestment and regeneration. I think moving the site access to Craven Way is far more preferable than the current situation where lorries are going past the lorry at school. So I would have had no objections for us to lodge anyway.
They are small commercial units, aren't they?
Exactly, yes. They're pretty standard, and they look pretty neat and tidy compared to the current commercial buildings surrounding them. So if we can still make a comment, I'd propose that we support the development.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. All in favour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's it for tonight then. Date of next meeting is Monday, 22nd of June. Anyone got anything to add to the agenda for the next meeting?
Is there anything at all, sorry, Deborah, anything I can put on the meeting? I believe it's the full town council meeting next week, am I right?
Yeah, we're just wondering if there's any agenda items for the Development and Planning Committee meeting in 2 weeks'
Right.
time.
I'm just wondering if I could go ahead after, if anybody's got anything. Can I put something on the full town council meeting for next week?
Yes, you probably can, but let's just finish this meeting first,
Okay.
and then we'll discuss it. Okay. So yeah, no items for the next.
McDonald's.
Okay.
Oh, McDonald's, right.
Because we should have the decision notice by then.
And you wanted the neighbourhood plan actions on this as well?
Yes, I'd like that to be a sort of standing item. Prior to item 6 of planning applications. Okay.
Right.
I think that's everything. Okay, time to close the meeting then.
All right, Deborah.
Okay.
See you in 30 seconds, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
See you in a minute.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.